Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Apollo fam. Welcome to our Sunday night AMA on the Apollo Moonbase progress. My name is Matt Johnson. I'm a dev here at the Apollo project, and joined with me, as always, we got Zach, or Apollo Ted, better known as, and Apollo Tanner. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
Good, good.
Doing good.
Good. Thanks for joining us tonight. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. We talked, was it 2 weeks ago now, about what's next in terms of the token and a proposal for migrating ourselves to a new contract early next year. So I'm excited, and we'll touch at the end here about the timing and the voting of that. Once again, we kind of gave a high level of it last week. But before we did that, I just wanted to kind of hop into a couple of bullet points about our project. We don't always assume that everyone is new or that is here has been returned, but there might be some new people that don't know much about us. So just a couple of high level points. We launched early 2022. We call it a memetility, meaning we had kind of the fun and spirit and community of a meme token. Like to have a lot of fun, engage with our community in that way, but a serious utility. We built a voting platform that gave away a little over $250,000 to aspiring creators to help fund their craft and get them to the next stage of their career. We reached, as a token, about $130 million market cap early on, and have since, like most tokens in the space and alongside our economy, found a floor, but not a bad floor. When you talk about, still in the millions of dollars in market cap and pretty significant liquidity as well. But we're hoping the migration effort will move us to something that's a lot more attractive to new investors and people that just want to trade. And that's not all. We want to move that alongside of a new gaming utility. We've been building games for over 30 years for large brands like Nike and WWE. And we've been working for several months now on a gaming platform called the Moonbase, which is kind of an arcade style engagement at first that we're building first party, but eventually we'll open up as a software development kit or SDK to lots of different developers that could put their content on our platform. In other ways, through arenas and stuff that we talked about in AMAs throughout the year, where sponsors and influencers and even people that just want to buy and hold arenas to have some equity stake in the project can do so as well. So lots of ways to engage, lots of ways to earn, all in the spirit of growing our engagement and growing our token value. So it's a little bit about us, and encourage you to join our Telegram if you're not on there. That's where we kind of chat throughout the week, and you could ask any of the guys here or any of the loyal holders that have been with us for a long time a question, and you'll get a pretty quick response. So definitely join our Telegram if you haven't already. But let's hop right into tonight's content. So we're going to talk a little bit about, as I mentioned, gameplay this time, where we talked mostly about token in the last AMA. So the major efforts that we've been undergoing are backend systems. That's like everything it takes to get this thing stood up and run and retain the data and information, databases, middleware, things like that. That's basically Zach's area of the business, among a lot of other things. But he runs the team that basically builds out all the stuff that makes the wallets connect and the transfers happen, and everyone to retain their data throughout the Moonbase project. I'll touch on creative. There's some cool new stuff I want to show off in the art and animation section, as well as some of the new systems that me and my team are working on as well, to put into core gameplay and how that's progressing towards what we hope is an alpha by the end of the year. Then I want to touch a little bit on NFTs. We've teased that here and there. We definitely want to do something coming in this first quarter of next year regarding a drop of NFTs. So just want to talk real high level on that for a minute. And then we'll hit next steps, as well as Tanner can chime in with anything that he has on the marketing front. As we've done some pretty cool promotions of late, and we'll continue doing that. Through getting the alpha out there and getting everyone kind of plugged in and engaged. So let's just hop right in. I think Zach, you wanted to start off here and talk about some of that back end development for us. So I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
So these are kind of the areas that I want to talk about. I've described them as epics here. And I guess I don't probably shouldn't spin off into a whole discussion on this. This could be a blog down the road. But the way we plan out our project is the big thing is we focused on how things affect the end user. That could be the gamer, that could be the investor, that could be the partner, that could be future developers we want on the team. So we focus on user stories. That could be, as a partner, I want to see some value in this, or it could be as a gamer, I want to be able to cash in my Apollo tokens for AMTs. And then you group those stories into what's called epics. So for now, that's as much as I want to go into it here. But these are the epics we'll go through on this. Web3 profiles, competition, and token integration. So if you go on, Matt. So the first part is the Web3. Um, so I think I've discussed this a little bit in past AMAs, but we're in a real new and tricky situation with gaming and Web3. The support for web development in Web3 is pretty good. You can build, dApps, websites, whatever you want to build, websites really well with Web3. Gaming, not so much. For fully supported libraries and SDKs and things like that, the support is pretty slim. So what we want to do is we want to pull as much out of the game as we can. And that sounds a little tricky. But if I can pull a lot of the Web3 functionality into the website side and maybe just pass that into the game versus handling that at the game level, that works a lot better for us because I don't want to be relying on libraries and SDKs that don't have a lot of support. So right now we're doing a lot of architecting of what can we pull out to the website level versus what do we want to be at the game level.
Yeah, Zach, and isn't the strategy of that too kind of centered around security? Meaning, like the more that you kind of have out of the core app, the more secure it could be. Let the servers kind of handle the processing and the data and stuff like that, so we have more kind of oversight and control of that, right?
Sure, absolutely. And like what you're saying there, but also like that goes into the support side. We aren't there's it's one thing if we were like interfacing with your Twitter profile, which sure you want some protection, but if someone gets access to it, you reach out to Twitter, you get your stuff back. We can't have people losing access to their wallets. And so if we can find libraries and SDKs at the website level that have greater support, they've been tested, they've got a lot of users, we can trust them. I feel a lot better about handling a lot of Web3 side at the website level versus, hey, this gaming library came out 3 months ago. It's from a pretty good company, but it really hasn't seen too much action. So I'd rather not give them a lot of trust.
That's a good point, and I think a lot of why this takes time and we do what we do at the degree that we do it is, safety and security is, a primary concern. I think a lot of groups would just throw a game out there just to say, hey, this could pump us really quick, or add a bullet point that says utility for it. We're building a platform to scale to work with all the things that I mentioned earlier, right? With other games and other people. And it's just paramount that you get this foundation right and have it secure and distributed in the proper way, because it's a lot harder to go back and do that later. So while we drone on about some of this stuff and a lot of you don't, like say, I can't fully comprehend all those technical details, what we're trying to communicate here at a high level is just that, we're taking the time, we're doing it right, we're investing in all this infrastructure and architecture because we built these kind of things before. And we know if we're going to be here for the long haul, in Web3 and in crypto, we need to do this right at this time. So Zach is really taking a lot of care and attention to figuring out how do we not trust the kind of nascent things that are still a little shaky and unstable, while we still innovate on things that will get us to market fast. So really good point there, Zach.
Yeah, and just one last thing to add to this architecture of putting things at the game level versus the site level is there's always going to be new wallets and stuff. But like, let's say I download the TED wallet. TED wallet is going to be supported at website libraries way before it's going to be at game libraries. So it also just keeps the door open for we are able to onboard new stuff a lot faster. The more we can keep at the website level versus inside the game.
And it'll still be relatively seamless, right? I mean, be able
Sure.
to hop from the game to the web. And really, the only point that this is really kind of a core focus is when, you're having to move Apollo into and out of the Moonbase ecosystem, right? So it's just like
Sure, that's the primary use case, but we want to, we always want to be ready for whatever comes next.
right.
So if we can just build a base layer of, we can connect and authenticate a wallet, there's so much we can do beyond that. So let's get that working, and then we can go on to the next step.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. So then other stuff alongside the Web3 stuff, we've got um, profiles. So this is PlayFab. I believe we've talked about it in the past. That's the backend service for a lot of our multiplayer that we're going to be using. That's for Microsoft. We feel really good about that partnership between Game Engine and PlayFab. So I've been working on architecting all the profiles and how those will be stored. So then we've got things working for, I log into the game and I want to log into my profile. Sure, we will always add social login and everything like that, but for alpha we wanted to make sure that we could prove out that users can take a wallet, any wallet that's supported by MetaMask, Coinbase wallet, Trust wallet, and I can sign a message to authenticate into the profile, much like we did with the contest for voting. If you remember, all it was I would connect my wallet and I would sign a message, and that would let me vote, log in, do all that stuff. And the awesome thing about that is and when we talk about reliance on smaller libraries and things like that, that is relying on blockchain technology. So that's been fully tested, and obviously everyone here has been using all sorts of ETH, you know, Binance, any of those chains. We are relying on the basic levels of blockchain authentication to assign you to a profile. And then once you've logged into a profile, we're adding things like supporting virtual currencies and stats and things like that.
And just to reiterate on the virtual currency, Zach, one of the decisions that we made early on with the voting utility was we just being on the ETH chain. And the reason why we're on the ETH chain and continue to want to be on the ETH chain is that's just where a lot of the focus and innovation and the money is, quite frankly. While these layer twos are less expensive on the transaction side, you lose a layer of security when you go to a layer two from a layer one, and that's important to us, like for everything we just talked about in the prior slide. But being able to use a reliable, secure way with virtual currency to do in-game transactions. Hey, I want to play this game to compete on the leaderboard, or bet this person this amount to go head to head. Things like that can be done basically cheaper than a layer two. They could be done free, while it doesn't retain the same, I guess, ultimate transparency of being on a blockchain for every transaction. That just gets really impractical to some level. Um, when you talk about having to play multiple, or you're playing multiple games a day, or doing so many transactions within the Moonbase. So we really just had to find the compromise of, money in and out is really important. You want that verified. You want that on the layer one on the blockchain. But the virtual currency is a great intermediary for us to do things within the Moonbase, and then when you move it back out again, obviously it goes back to the blockchain. So I think it's just
Yeah, and that's the great balance of things. Is we're choosing proven tech that's not going to fail us. Like you said, we're choosing ETH, which is not going to fail us, and we're choosing databases that have been used. Like I said, it's Microsoft, so it's databases that have been used and backed up, and we're using reliable tech in everything we do.
awesome. Cool. Anything else on profiles?
No, I think we're
Okay.
ready for the next one. Competitions. That's one most recently we've been getting into, improving out and getting ready for alpha. This is things like tracking statistics for kills, games played, and that of course includes leaderboards, PlayFab leaderboards we've used in previous games, and so that just getting all that set up. This could be everything from tracking all-time games, kills, whatever. But right now, I think what we're shooting for alpha is getting these weekly leaderboards set up. So, like I said, for now, it's just games, kills, but it could really be anything we want. It could be how much health you picked up. It could be
Yeah.
how many of a certain enemy type you were able to kill. We're just getting the base layers hooked up, and then we can expand from there.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit to that. I know we talked about, I think, on one of these AMAs, that probably some kind of scoring metric that's a combination of how quickly you cleared a phase, how many enemies you killed, how many bonus pickups you have. We'll come up with a pretty cool scoring metric, or maybe multiple that could be tracked on leaderboards and have multiple prizes as well. But we have that flexibility in what we're building here, and this is where I get really excited because, like, think about all the content that gets pushed to our communities and social. Like every time someone beats a high score, we can have something hook a webhook into that pushes out to Twitter, that posts in our Telegram, where people can just be incentivized to come back in and re-engage, or try to beat that score. This is kind of more the grand vision of, like, you have this self-sustaining marketing and content generation that's just coming out of the Moonbase and games and engagements and things that are happening, right? So I get really excited when you think about all the data and stuff that we can use and expose to share with the community and sponsors as well.
Yeah, and even that score stuff, like we're gonna have our focus groups and everything put together the score, but balancing in video games will always require players. So
Sure.
that will be an ongoing process through alpha and beta, closed beta, open beta, and all that stuff as we figure out the balancing and
Yeah.
what's too hard, what's too easy, what benefits one person and not the other. So
Yeah. And I really feel like, guys, this is what differentiates us a little bit. How many games during 2020, 2021, when the concept of kind of play to earn came online, and I would go investigate these or invest a little bit to get into them. And it was literally a clone of a game that you could buy off the store and put together within 24 hours. I think it's pretty clear now that we're not doing that. We built all this from scratch to be centered around Web3, to be, robust, secure, and have a full featured set. And this team spent a lot of time and money in doing that. And I think this is where it's going to pay off, is we're going to have kind of these systems and this intelligence and this real-time game monitoring that's going to allow us to pivot and change and grow and scale, like a lot of these games aren't, because they're just slapped together and thrown on there with a label that says this is Web3. Well, we've been on the forefront of like two or three waves in technology over the years, and we know the ones that succeed and endure are not the ones that do that. So I think kudos to you, Zach. You've done an amazing job in building this infrastructure for us.
thanks, man. We got a long way to go, and we say all these things, and there's all these epics and stories. At the end of the day, we're trying to build a fun game.
Yeah.
And different people find fun in different ways. I find fun in competition, whether it's Call of Duty, CS:GO. Like the fun for me was in ranked matches and leaderboards and things like that. And so I'm very passionate about the competition side.
Yeah, I agree. And the fun for me is really not going to be allowing Apollo Tanner's family members to crush our game like they seem to think that they're going to do right out the gate. So that's what really gets me challenged, is to make it just uber hard. So it's coming.
And the last big part, and this is kind of inside the Web3 vein, but token integration. So we fully tested out the deposit and withdrawal system. We feel fantastic about it. The cool part about the deposit system is, at first thought, we're sitting there, we're planning, penciling this out or whiteboarding it out, I guess. I was thinking, okay, we've got to set up the DAO to be integrated with cloud scripts and PlayFab and have all this hooked up. But we've actually simplified it a ton, so that all it is I send Apollo to the DAO. And in true decentralized fashion, that could be through the web portal we build. So you go to Apollo Crypto /deposit or something like that, and you follow through our steps. Or say, I don't know, you don't trust a site, you just want to do it by hand, or you're a developer and you want to automate all this stuff. All it is you get the DAO address, you send your Apollo to the DAO, you've deposited. So then I go into the game, and the game will say, "Oh, looks like we've noticed a deposit from the wallet you've connected. Do you want to go ahead and cash that in for your AMTs?" You hit yes. Boom, your AMTs are loaded into your profile, and you're ready to rock.
And I can't stress enough how cool of a system this is that Zach's built, because we grew up in the world of great mobile UX in the companies that we've worked for, and it's the idea of frictionless experience, make it as easy as possible in the ways that people are familiar with working with these systems. So when he came to me and said that this deposit system was figured out, my mind was blown. Like, this is incredible. This is just going to be so easy. So you just have to connect your wallet to the game and deposit funds, and it shows up in the game as virtual currency that you can engage and play with. Like, that was what we were looking for, and it was nailed. So I'm really excited to get this into testing and QA and then into alpha, because I think that people are really going to appreciate this feature.
And you talk about the UX, and in a simple sense, everyone thinks, "How is the UX for me?" But we really try to build the UX for everyone. I believe we've called it the grandma test of, could my grandma pick this up and figure it out? So we've built it so that, someone could be handheld through the deposit process, and we built it so the experienced person can just pull out their phone, do a deposit on their phone, and they're good to go.
Yeah, sure. Is your grandma pretty good at endless shooters, Zach?
No,
Okay, so
not so
maybe
much.
your grandma test will be the deposits, but not the
Yeah,
gaming. Okay,
Nana is not going to be topping the leaderboards, I
all
don't
right.
think.
I don't know. Watch out. I think Nana's coming for you, man. All right. So appreciate that, Zach. Great work as always. And I just can't wait for you guys to appreciate the aspects that go behind the scenes and around everything that we're building here. While it's not usually the most flashy and visual thing, like Zach said, at the end of the day, we're just trying to build great engagement. We think that will draw people to this, but it's just so uber important. And I think our tech stack and what I look at on other projects is just few and far between. And I think when the market comes back and you get mature investors coming in from the normie side, they're looking for proven teams and proven technology stacks like this. So I think we'll be well served by it. So let's jump into a little bit of the gameplay progress. I wanted to put this slide up here because it's been a while since we talked about kind of what we looked at as the architecture of how people engage and play. And just as a reminder, kind of the high level core gameplay systems is going to be focused on two groups, two stakeholders, which is going to be the holder that might not necessarily be a big game player, but wants to support the protocol, wants to help us by locking up or quote unquote staking. It's our kind of unique form of staking by transferring, like Zach just talked about, tokens to the DAO. They go in and then there'll be weekly tasks to support the project through social media, posting, retweeting game scores, doing all this kind of thing, recruiting new players, potentially like a referral program that we're looking into right now. And then they'll have their own kind of weekly pool that will award those players out of the DAO as well. So it's like, even if you aren't a hardcore competitive gamer, there's still a way for you to engage and succeed and earn from the Moonbase. That was really important to us. And then, of course, the gamer side, which, as Zach mentioned, we're focusing mainly on weekly leaderboard competitions to start. But our grand vision, as we talked about all the base camps at the beginning of the year, getting to head-to-head real-time multiplayer, obviously a layer of complexity and security that we have to really focus on there. But it'll be really neat when people kind of wager their Apollo skill based against each other to compete in Moonbase and other third party applications when the time comes. So our first engagement, as we talked about, is a survival shooter. We've shown some really early prototypes to this point. We want to be real careful. We're going to have a big reveal at the end of the year, like what final polished gameplay looks like, what we've talked about of all the stages. But I wanted to kind of break it apart tonight and show you some of the cool advancements that we made kind of in the areas of art and animation, some gameplay core systems that we're working on right now, because I'm really excited to see it all coming together. And it's feeling like a real live, game engagement now, which is always, when we get to that point, we know, ooh, that's the motivation to get us across the finish line. So I've heard several comments over the last several months, and people just, it's hard for them to understand, like, hey, where is this going? I know not everyone agrees with the idea of like, hey, why are we doing a pixel game type old school approach? It just made sense for kind of the theme of what we're talking about doing and the humor we wanted to convey. We're taking a lighthearted poke fun of approach of the crypto industry with the whole Moonbase and our dog and all the things that people talk about in memes. That's part of that meme tilia I talked about. But the art style has really come together. Here's some examples of the new tile sets that we've started laying into different arenas. So before, I think it was just a simple grass, like didn't make any sense for our game. It wasn't a Moonbase, but you can see from these images now, artists has kind of created these whole new tile sets for looking a lot more polished, like the old school classic Nintendo games that we all played. And it's pretty fun to run around these arenas now and explore things and destroy things. So we got that. We have a whole new, brand new outdoor arena that we've not talked about or announced yet. So we're announcing it here. So that's the moon surface that you see on the bottom right. So you'll be able to fight and compete in, 2 or 3 different environments by the time we get to beta, which I'm really excited about. Also, on the bottom left there, you can see we're starting to layer in. Zach's been working with the UI systems. So we have all these, windows and dialogues and all these things that you don't really think about when it comes to a game, but it's really important to move the user through the experience. So a lot of new art, final art, polished art's coming online, and I'm really excited to bring it to life as we layer this in. Uh, you've seen a couple of these teas by Tanner, I think, on social media, but I went ahead, Tanner, and just put the whole whole lot of the last delivery on because I think it's pretty fun. We've got a whole new set of character deaths. It'd be real easy to just make the character disappear, but that's not the polish we want. We want to communicate like this is a game by professionals and it has a lot of love and care into it. So everything from the top, you see that's our new character called the Fud Slug. So he runs around the arena and leaves a trail of poison behind him, like Fudders do, right? And the speakers will be like custom, audio clips like "Win Marketing," "Where Dev," and things like that that'll just spout out as it moves across the arena. So again, a very lighthearted approach. We think this will get some traction and press within the crypto industry by taking this approach. Everyone from Leon Tusk to the Fud Slugs to some other characters that we haven't even revealed yet that will be in there. We want to keep that humor and lightheartedness in it. You can see kind of on the Apollo row there, the electrocution and poison there. Like I mentioned, if you step on tiles now behind the Fud Slugs, you'll gain poison damage on your character. So it's about scaling the challenge too in the environment. So now you have like areas you can't go and step on unless you kill those enemies fast. So we've really taken a lot of time and care in the design of like what are the different enemies, what are the different animations, like what do we need in there so this challenge scales from level 1 to 10, I think is what we're targeting for alpha, of making this damn near impossible to progress in, right? We wanted to make it, levels 1, 2, or 3 are people playing the free version, I got this. And then when they buy into Apollo and they start playing the real leaderboard game and want to compete for money, it's going to get hard as hell. So really excited about all this kind of stuff. You can see even the Vim bot, there's new dust animations. He's going to have a electrified field that's going to emit there and make some tiles on the ground electric. So lots of ways to compete and potentially meet your demise in the Moonbase. Quick little clip here. This is actually some of the initial environments that we're putting together for the Moon Surface Arena. One thing that my team's been working on is just, it seems really relatively simple, but it's pretty complex when you're doing a 2D game here, is the idea of it's all flat tiles, but you need to make it appear 3D. So this was this kind of sorting and area navigation. So Apollo can move behind things. Like, so let's say like right here, if he moved behind this wall, so he could dodge a bullet storm from one of the enemies or something like that, or collect something, decide whether you want to go behind walls and collect something, but might possibly get trapped in there. So these are all these little attention to detail type things that are going to make these arenas really challenging. And with all the tile sets, we can build dozens of them. So there might be 5 different to 10 different outside Moon arenas. There might be 5 interior arenas. And then I have plans for one other tile set that's coming for beta that will introduce a whole new set of worlds as well that we can build with these tile sets. But it just takes so much time to get this right. And we've gone back and forth with the artist probably a dozen times to say, yeah, it doesn't work on this tile, or it doesn't work in this corner. The collision's not right. So again, we're just trying to expose this process in the spirit of crypto and transparency, everything that goes into game development too, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me on DMs and say, hey, this is crazy what you guys are doing. This is so intricate. We'd love to see how this evolves piece by piece. So that's what we're trying to do here. So right now I'm also working on those dynamic tiles I mentioned. So, when enemies shoot electric or poison, they affect the ground, so you can't move in that area. I have the core game loop stories in front of me, which is like, okay, you got to add a timer to this. You got to add a score. You got to do all that kind of things that make it a game, so you can destroy enemies that have AI that move towards you. We've shown off little pieces of that. So most of the core pieces are built. We're now at the stage where that all just gets stitched together into a playable game. So that's what we call the game loop. And then, of course, right after we get that game loop done, we'll come in quick and heavy on the visual effects and the final polish on the animation. This is really where the project goes from that, oh, it feels about 50% done to 100% done when you see like screen flashes and zoom effects and particle effects and explosions and all the great sounds that Ethan on our team has been doing. Like that's where it really gets to the finish line as far as I'm concerned. Now it doesn't really ever end because we're always evolving, we're always growing it, we're always adding new stuff. But I think it's going to be a fun experience, and it's going to be so much better than most of the quite honestly the play to earn crap that I've seen along the way. But just want to give you guys a sense of like another element that goes into it. It's not as simple as like, hey, you paint the ground and it works. It has to work with all these different things happening in the environment, lots of different conditions, and that's where our quality assurance team and everything that Zach does as well kind of come into play to make sure that it's seamless. So let's talk real quick about NFTs. We mentioned a few times, and Zach talked about profiles. I just want to make sure that there's not any confusion immediately. Like when we take profiles, that's really initially storing your data in the Azure PlayFab system that Zach mentioned. But our full intent is to have, like you see the profile on the screenshot that just showed up in the top corner. Those are can be, and our plan is for them to be unique representations of your character that are defined by an NFT. So we're planning on March doing an NFT drop, which would be kind of your typical thing where we'll have a set of characteristics, various rarities to them, various things that will actually unlock special things within the game or potentially allow you to earn more by doing certain things based on that rarity. And then a visual aesthetic that will be different that people can kind of mint at random and then buy, sell, and trade on the secondary markets like OpenSea. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to help the project with the purchases of that. Portion of that will go to buybacks and burns. Portion of it will go back to help us, continue to fund the growth of these systems and attract top sponsors and talent and things like that to the ecosystem as well. So I'll be working really closely with Tanner on this NFT project and deployment and how it ties into all of our other partners and sponsors as well. So really excited about that. Eventually, we talked about that. This is our philosophy, right? It's just like we don't want to spend 3 years building everything to its greatest degree, and then everything in this nascent space changes or evolves, and now our stuff is outdated. We need to do small things, get it to a certain level where it just works, get it deployed, get feedback, build on that as new tech comes out. Like that's the smart way to do it. I've seen so many projects fail because they're trying to be all things to all people right out the gate. And I'd rather get a good, clean, fun project out there that has, most of what we talked about, at least at a core level for our vision on this Basecamp roadmap, and then grow it and evolve it from there. So NFTs are going to be a huge part of what we're doing because you'll be able to store data from your wins, losses, except whatever it might be, and then also have that with the aesthetic and the rarity. And just think how valuable that is now in gaming, where you can actually own your data, own your character. Everything that you did will be associated with that NFT, and that's yours to do with whatever you want. So pretty exciting stuff. That's an area that gaming just hasn't been yet. Okay, so I know everyone's next question is like the win. I'm just actually taking this slide exactly from the AMA we just had, but just wanted to reiterate it in case we didn't see it, so you know what's going on, what are next steps. We kind of talked a little bit in depth about what Zach's next steps are on the back end, what mine are on gameplay, but just as a general meta here, October, because this is an old slide, doing the DAO vote. We're in November now, but that DAO vote will actually go out tomorrow. Please check the Telegram for the official links and instructions on what to do. Don't ever click on anything or attach your wallet to anything or give anyone your seed phrase associated with connecting your wallet. This will be through Snapshot, a very reputable company. We've done this a couple times with them already when it talked about like moving from the voting platform to this when people voted. But this is just to say yay or nay to we agree with the direction of migrating the token to the new contract for the reasons. And if you aren't familiar with any of that, I encourage you to go watch the AMA from 2 weeks ago. We break it down in great detail, the rationale and why we want to migrate and how it'll help our utility and our holders. So we feel are what we're proposing. So everyone has an opportunity to attach your wallet and vote on that, whether you agree with us or not. So November is going to be a lot of Zach finishing the things that he listed off tonight, but also working on this new contract development. He just gets more and more on his plate as we come up with these ideas and grow it. So congratulations, Zach. That's what you get for being so smart.
We're
So
hungry.
what's that?
I said, well, we're hungry. We
Yeah,
love you on the
for
plate.
sure. No, I love it. Bring it. So this new contract development, we'll just use the best practices from what we've learned over the last couple of years during the bear market, where we, instead of just sitting on our hands, we worked, we learned, we studied, we grew, we invested back in ourselves. So this is kind of the fruits of that, and he'll start working on that pending the approval of the DAO vote. Excuse me. So December then is just testing out that new contract on the test nets, making sure it flows with the systems we've already talked about depositing into the DAO or staking and creating our total value locked within the ecosystem, the Moonbase ecosystem. And then by the end of December, my goal is at this point to at least have a closed alpha. I don't know what that looks like, whether that's our internal hired team people or contractors or QA that we bring on, but we're getting really close, as you can see from that. I want to get gameplay right. And the tried and true statement in the gaming industry, which frustrates the hell out of some people, I get it, is it's ready when it's ready. Well, that really is true. When I feel like this is good enough to introduce other people into, and the user experience is where it needs to be, I will wait until that. We waited this long. We've done it the right way. I'm not going to skip corners in the 11th hour and mess something up. This needs to be a fun experience. It needs to be a secure experience. And when that's ready, we'll launch it. We got plenty of time. You know, people argue that, oh, the bull market started, whatever. It is still a whipsaw. You know, we're going to see plenty of time and potential and recovery. It will certainly be out there and be in its polished form in the first quarter. I'm really hoping by end of January when we get kind of the beta working right there. But right now, that's the plan from now and the end of the year. Probably bring a couple people in from the community that have been really loyal and supportive and that have the chops to give us good QA and feedback and get them involved at the very end of the year. So that's our timeline with the actual game itself. But the new token deployment, we talked about, that'll be in February. So for both of those things to come together at the same time is the goal. We get our public release and the open beta. We get the new token out there. We get the partnership announcements. All the three of those things come together at the right time, late February, March. And hopefully, with some good luck, the market is exactly where we need it to be, which is the important component, like I talked about at length in the last AMA. And then here we go. Here is the 2.0 offering of the Apollo Crypto DAO, which I'm super excited about because, like I said, it's just been a passion of mine forever to do something new in gaming and innovative in gaming after years and years of kind of doing the same, stuff, whether it was on mobile or PC. The fact that people can earn real currency from this, that they can own their data and engage and compete with each other and create great communities and content gets me absolutely jazzed. And I love doing it with these guys too. So that's where we're tracking right now. And again, happy to take any kind of questions or inquiries as it relates to partnerships or how to get involved in the alpha when the time comes. Just join our Telegram and hit us up. So, guys, do you have anything to add? Tanner, I know Zach and I sucked a lot of the oxygen out of this AMA, but how are you feeling about things? Anything you want to add? Anything coming up for us on the community or marketing side?
For sure. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
both Zach and Matt. No, I think like you just mentioned, like inquiries or questions or anything like that, as we always say, kind of enter the Telegram. The Telegram always seems to be, we're pretty on it about answering questions, whether that's about the last AMAs, whether it's about the new migration. Never hesitate to kind of ask questions. And this past week, we didn't do a competition, a little bit different than the past couple of weeks, but we're kind of brainstorming right now on what's to kind of come leading up to alpha. Obviously, we're getting pretty close to alpha. We want to get those competitive juices kind of going for everybody. Obviously, leading in, we are a gaming company. So we want to kind of get everybody competing and try to create some competitions that, maybe isn't just a simple vote, maybe isn't just a simple random winner, maybe something that is a little bit more competitive driven, so that we can kind of get everybody going into that. But other than that, I mean, I think Matt and Zach, you both summed it up pretty well. I mean, the biggest thing I'm excited about is this is just the breaking point. This first game, it's proving the concept that the ecosystem can self-sustain and have a self-sustaining economy with our first game. And I think it's just the first step into the opportunities that this ecosystem can create for other, whether that's other companies, whether that's other utilities. I mean, it's felt like maybe a long time through this bear market, and the people that have been loyal to us, it's been awesome leading up to this big game, this first game. But I mean, long term, this first game is just the first game and just the first step towards what this ecosystem really could be. So that's what I'm super excited about.
That's a great point, Tanner. I agree. And like, I always think back to one of my favorite stories is like Notch when he released the first iteration of Minecraft, right? It's just like literally threw up I can move blocks around on a server. It was so basic and so simple, but people saw the vision. And that's what I hope for this. It's just like, yeah, while you see, pixels and a fun little game there, I think platform though. I think about bringing other people on. I think partnerships and sponsors. This is so much bigger than just an arcade game. You go put a quarter in and you're done. I mean, have you ever thought like, hey, I can go put quarters in this arcade game, but if I'm good at it, I get to be part of the team that clears the quarters out and keeps some of them at the end of the day. Like that would have been a dream, as 8-year-old Matt back in the 80s, right? I think that we're now there, whether it's through the data ownership or the revenue shares from these different things. There's just so many great directions this could go. So you're absolutely right. It's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're talking about here.
Exactly, and like just to add to that too, like it's not whether it's through gaming or not. Don't think about it as the Apollo Moonbase is walking up to one arcade game. You can think about it as an entire arcade with multiple different games as the future comes to be able to play multiple different games all at once with the same kind of rewards, weekly rankings, all that kind of stuff with the different games and partnerships that are to come kind of in the future as well.
Awesome. Anything else, Zach, you want to add before we kind of turn it over to any questions people may have?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Hopefully we didn't I was reprimanded for scheduling this during a Cowboy game, which in retrospect was a terrible idea. But we planned this a while back, so I whatever. But appreciate you guys joining us, and obviously this will all be uploaded online to our YouTube site, so you could always go back and watch it there if you missed it or refer to someone. And do that this week if you're part of the Apollo community. Just say, hey, I'm really jazzed about this, and we can take a look at this together and answer any questions with them on that. It's about bringing new people in. So. Community, if you have any questions, anything that you want to have answered tonight, we've got about 5 more minutes if you want to fire anything off. All right. Well, if not, we'll just leave it at that then. I really appreciate everyone's time as always. Super excited. Again, join the Telegram. Can't iterate that enough. That's where you get your information, our first information for sure. And we look forward to seeing you guys in some competitions. And then at the end of the year, doing some pretty big reveals on the final gameplay and announcing alpha. So stay tuned. And as always, y'all have a great week.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in.